Okay, hi everybody, and we're back. And today we have Gabriel again for part two. And today we're gonna be talking about his daily life and how does he de-stress to keep that positive mental status that's going on in his life. So Gabriel, I want to say hi again.
Hello, how y'all doing? It's always good to be here and be talking about these really important topics. So thanks for having me and being a host again. This is really cool.
Yes. So, like I said before, today we'll be talking about your daily life and how do you de-stress. So you want to walk us through your daily life and the life of Gabriel. Like, what days do you have certain events? Um, yeah, just let's talk about it.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. My daily life varies depending on the day. So every day is different depending on the what day of the week it is. So, for example, Monday through Thursday, currently during the school year, Monday through Thursday, I am up by 5:30 every morning, and I got some early morning classes, and I'll be like early morning classes, and then in between some of those classes, I have podcasting. So, intern with the local podcast. So I help produce for them and make sure all the videos are coming out clear, looking good, don't sound bad. So that's something that I really enjoy helping out with. So that's something I do. And then but yeah, so it really depends on the day. So like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I help with podcasting. And then on pretty much Monday through Thursday, I have classes. I actually take college classes right now because I graduated early. So I just finished up with those, kind of getting out of my summer, or not my summer schedule, my school schedule, and moving into summer schedule. So very those are two very different things. So I think it's important to differentiate. So during the school year, I have a set schedule that varies depending on semester and my class load and what that's like. Um, so like for example, like this semester, I had Mondays were my busiest days. So from like 6 in the morning to like 12, it like 12:30, I was not home. I was in class. I had meetings 6 hours straight. I'm not kidding. From like 6 to 12:30, I had meetings. And from like 12:30 to like 3, I was like working on schoolwork, getting whatever food I could get. And then I had work right after that. And then I worked till 6. And then from 6 to like 6:30, I had 30 minutes between then to get home, get something to eat. And then I would have podcasts in with light leaders until 7:30, and then I'd try to have some family time and all that kind of stuff. So that's a typical Monday for the about the past 6 months. That's been my typical Mondays. Um,
Oh wow, that's a
but
lot
then
going on.
it is, but it's a lot of fun though. There's always something exciting and fun to do, and then like you never know like what other things are gonna be happening. So that's where like it just varies depending on the day, because I'd have some classes that would meet like every other day. So be like Monday and Wednesday where I'd have a psychology class, or like I'd have math class, all the different classes. So it varied depending on the day, like what my class load was. But I am doing full-time school, as well as I've been taking Mandarin, so that's an evening class, which I don't really recommend evening classes for the reason that everyone wants to do things on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or any week. But in the evening, everyone wants to go hang out. But I have this class that's right during the best time to like hang out, which is like 6 o'clock. Like everyone wants to hang out at 6, but
Yeah.
somebody has a class. So during the school year, I had so at least for me, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have a Mandarin class, which is on Zoom, so it's really easy. So it was really fun too, because on Zoom, your classmates are from all around the U.S. So I have classmates quite literally from the East Coast to the West Coast, in my Mandarin class, and it's really fun too because like we get to learn about the our different areas. So one of my friends, I just learned she's from Pittsburgh, and my hometown is Pittsburgh. Like, so that was something kind of cool. We connected, and I was like, "Tell me all about Pittsburgh," and then I'm learning about like the Primanti brothers and like the sandwiches and all that kind of stuff. So it's something really fun that I love. So I have a very different, I think, type of education I received where I'm currently, well, this past semester, I currently attended two colleges. Um, and one was virtually for my Mandarin course. So I did take a college level Mandarin course, and that was through Western Virginia State University. And then the other one was through just local community college with Wabanzi, which is a great school. Totally recommend it. But it's stuff like that where every day is different, every day is fun, so I have different schedules for different days. So there's the set thing where like there's the school I can count on. There's my, so I do have a system though, so like my school, I can count on it. Like there's all these things that will just happen, and it's regularly planned out. And then I have work, and that's regularly scheduled, so I don't let people like schedule me for like random shifts. That's just not really okay. So I have it regularly scheduled. I work Mondays and Fridays here. I work, Mondays and Tuesdays there. Like that's really where I keep it at. But currently I've worked about two jobs and also an internship with the podcast. So there's a lot of different like moving parts with the schedule. But the best way to do it is to just have one central hub. So what I use is Google Calendars. I live by my calendar app. So if somebody says, "Hey, you want to go out for lunch?" I'm putting together a calendar invite with the address. And that's how I do it. Like, because I will forget sometimes. And it's happened before where someone's been like, "Hey, bestie, how you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm doing well." They're like, "Where you at?" I'm like, "Huh?" They're like, me lunch 2 o'clock?" And I was like, "It's 2 o'clock, but I don't know we having lunch." So, sometimes you like forget that stuff because it can be really difficult to kind of move that around for, a busy schedule. But that's where you gotta make sure you're taking out the time and, making it very, very planned out. So you just know what you're doing when you're doing it. But that kind of leads me to another part that I think is really important is having margin. So taking time for yourself where you have fun or you do something like outside of school or whatever regularly planned thing you got going on. So that's something that I try really hard for. So I will, one day I went out and I got pizza just because I felt like I was like, "Hey, I feel like grabbing some pizza." And I had time for that. I watched pizza, K-drama, and I also watched like a little bit like Star Trek and that kind of stuff. I do like Star Trek. I think Star Wars is better, but Star Trek is pretty good too. Uh, I see you there, my right. You're like,
I was
"Bro."
like, I don't watch either, so I wouldn't even know.
Oh, you're like, "What?"
No, that's so dang, dude. You do another podcast. I thought at first second that this whole time you were a senior. Like I didn't even know like you like graduated like
Yeah, so I did graduate early. So that's where technically this is my senior year. But I have graduated early. So I started taking college classes part-time last semester. So about last year. And then this semester has been my first like time taking full-time college courses.
and like how are the classes? Because I know everyone's like older than you. Like, is it like weird? Wait, is it in person or is it just Mandarin?
Yeah, so
Virtual?
it's in person and virtual. It's kind of a mix. So depending on which teachers I like the most. So there's some teachers that only teach virtually, but they're really good. So I was like, okay, well, you got to do what you need. So I was like, well, I want good teachers, and this is the best. But they're virtual. I'm like, okay, that's I like being in a classroom, but if it has to be virtual, I'll do it. So, it's kind of funny because in English class, which is one of the courses I took last year, I was 17 when I was taking it, and they're talking about topics like voting and a lot of things that are like taxes and stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm 17, so I'm not even an adult yet, so I can't even vote. And people were like, I'm like, I know, but I have been a part of voting for a lot longer than I could vote, because I worked as an election judge at most of the past couple of elections. So that's something where, even though, like, yeah, I was a lot younger than most of my classmates. Like, they're like 21 and I'm like 17, and they're like, whoa, you young, bro. I'm like, yeah, I know, I know. But even then, it was a lot of fun. Like, there's all sorts of ways to connect with my classmates, even though we weren't like the same age. But it's like we're kind of in the same space. We're going to college. We're having fun. So, you know, we actually got a lot in common.
Right. You never know when you need somebody, so that's also good to
Oh yeah.
know people. So with that crazy schedule of yours, how do you de-stress? Like that whole schedule, I would be stressed all day, every day. So how do you like calm your mind down every day?
No, that's a great question. So that's something that I spent a lot of time thinking about and looking into, because I was like, if I am going to be very busy and have a lot of meaningful things going on, I also need to have the same type level of commitment to my mental health, to ensuring that I'm staying sane, if that makes sense. Like, in like staying healthy, staying positive, because a lot of issues can stem from being too busy or having too high levels of stress. They're directly correlated to having issues either currently or later on in life. And that's again, that can be found by through studying psychology and listening to professionals, which is what I've done. So it's something where I was like, when I first kind of started, I was like, okay, I sat down with mental health professionals. I was like, okay, so I want to learn what you use to stay healthy. And they're like, I'm like, I know. It's because normally when you go in for like therapy or something, or you meet with a psychologist, it's not preemptively, it's just to after you kind of knew that something was going on. But I was like, no, no, I want to meet with these professionals so that I can preemptively take care of my mental health and make sure that I have the skills to make sure that I'm healthy before anything happens. And that's really what I worked on. So I worked really, really hard to make sure that I had all the right skills for maintaining my mental health. And so that's something where I did a lot with meditation. So I there's different apps that are free. There's actually an app by the U.S. Department of Defense, I believe, that uh, allows for it's a free download on the App Store, and you can check it out. It's really great. I can't remember what the app is called specifically, but it's something that I used. And so there's a lot you
There's a lot
can learn
to learn
about
about.
uh, mental health and do meditation there. And then, so there's some other things that I worked with as far as like do breathing techniques. But then I think the main thing that's really helps me, like the thing that is by far helped me, is having clear defined boundaries. And that is something that a lot of people won't tell you about, but it's like you need boundaries. So when I'm writing an email at 8:30, that email that if I haven't sent that email, it's not going. It's not going out, because it doesn't matter if I send an email at 12 o'clock in the morning. No one's going to read an email at 12 o'clock in the morning unless they're a crazy person like me, right? No one's going to do it. And I won't even read emails at 12 in the morning unless it's like really important. But if it's that important, you should be calling me. And even then, I won't answer because I have my phone on silent mode. But so my system there though is I have boundaries, so that when there's a set time where I don't bring work home with me. That's something that I used to do, where I would, if I was working on an email and then my shift ended, I would just bring the email home and just work on my laptop and send it. That's not something you should do. You need very clear boundaries. You need to define them, understand what you're willing to give up and what you're not willing to give up. So that's something where I am not willing to stress myself out at 9 in the evening. At 9 o'clock, I need to be going to sleep. I need to be processing. I want to go watch, whatever it is. I mean, currently I'm working on this fun video series. It's about the Three Musketeers. I love it. I don't know why it's so good. It's BBC, so uh it's what is it? BBC is British broadcasting company or something. I can't remember. But it's one of those long like drama kind of things where it's all about the Three Musketeers in like Paris, and it's like I think it's based in 1630 or something. But it's really fascinating. But that's something that like I've been watching and enjoying, even though like even if you have work, you have to be proud about the work you've done, and then you got to take some time for yourself. So for me watching that movie series, that is me taking time for myself. That's me with my boundaries. So my boundary is that I am not going to work on these projects at this time because it's not going to make a difference in a meaningful way when I work on this at 9 or 10, because people aren't going to be reading these things at that time. It just doesn't make sense. So that's where my boundary is, that I'm not going to stress myself out at 9 o'clock at night about that. I'm going to relax. I'm going to go read a book. I'm going to go. So right now there's this really good book I'm reading about it's like the Mayan wealth myths, I think. So is a very good book that was recommended to me by a friend. And, it's something where that's what I'm working on. Or, like right after this, I'll be going to class. But that's the thing where there's a lot of things where having clear defined boundaries is super important, because that's really what's helped me deal with a lot of my stress. And then just having a good support group, like find good friends, find like-minded people. It is so refreshing to hang out with people who have different lifestyles that are can be quite similar, right? That's something important. Or just hanging out with your peers, having fun, going to a movie theater. Like, take time for yourself and make sure, I mean, obviously you want your work to get done, so make goals. And that's the other thing. I make goals, I set deadlines, I meet those goals, I meet those deadlines. The stress gets out of it, because once I have a plan, when you plan something, you have the means and ability to accomplish it. So that's what I do. I set goals, I make a plan, keep clear boundaries about the goals, the plan, the expectation. And then once I meet that, I meet it. And it's something where the stress kind of is taken out of it. Like it doesn't become stressful, it just becomes a way of life. And I think that's really important to recognize, is that you got to make sure that you're doing things sustainably. So you're not going to bed at 3 in the morning because you want to go send somebody an email or a text or stuff. That can wait. You got to push it to the next day. That's okay. It's okay to move things. Not all deadlines have to be met exactly when. Now, there are hard deadlines where you do need to be preparing, but that's where, the 5 Ps, proper preparation prevents poor performance, will help you so much, because that's what I live by. When I properly prepare, so that's when, if I have a deadline, that doesn't mean I'm working on my paper the day of. That means my paper was written a while in advance. So then by the time it is the day of, my paper is going to get an A. But that's because I revised it 20 times over the past couple of weeks because I had the time to. So that's just making sure you're properly prepared, taking time for yourself, and you have clear boundaries. Because at the end of the day, sometimes people are doing too much, and that's where I've had to learn when to say no, because that's really when I've said no, is when I'm doing too much.
Yes, and saying no is so important. Saying no, because people will overwork you if you don't speak up. But yes, that was all the questions I had for you, Gabriel. But this is your last broadcast. How do you feel? Do you feel like sad?
Yeah, I feel a little sad. But I'm excited. Excited, I think is the word that I would say. Is I am very excited for the future. I think this podcast is in really good hands. Mariah, I think you can do a really good job with it. And I just can't wait to see what the next adventure is for all of us. And I know it's been a really great journey being with Light for the past year. I know that's something that I never would have like dreamed of being doing. Like, when it first started, it was this really fun opportunity. And here we are, we've gone with it, we've run with it, and we so much has happened in the past year. It's been really phenomenal experience and journey. So for that, I thank our viewers and everyone for their support, and I thank you for being willing to take on the fun work of leading this podcast.
Always. Well, do you have any last words, any a message you'd like to say to the people, or
Yes. So just, stay motivated, stay focused on your goals, and set clear ones. Make sure that you know what you want out of life and you're able to help accomplish that, because there's a lot can get in the way of that if you don't realize what you want. So just kind of recognize that and know that there's so much support out there, and great organizations like Light. We offer a lot of really good resources to students who are interested in learning about different careers. We are a virtual career podcast, but a lot of what we do is based in helping people. So there's a lot that we're here to pass on information. That's really our role here. So just stay tuned for more really amazing interviews. We're going to be doing a lot in the next couple months, and I won't be a part of that, but Mariah's has got a lot of good stuff planned. It's going to be really, really great time. So stay tuned for more.
yeah, stay tuned for more, guys. Stay more content coming. All right.